You probably have a favorite book. You probably have a favorite story. You probably have a copy of it sitting on a shelf somewhere, and when you pull it off, it looks familiar, and there are great associations with it. Every great book, every great story ever had to be published so that it went from the author's mind into some type of form, whether physical or digital, that found its way to you and that you were able to engage with it. The last step in the writing process, the fifth step, is publishing. Now, I admit, when I was a kid, this is the phase that I always wanted to rush to. I started here. I wouldn't even have an idea for a story. I just wanted to make covers. I wanted to make illustrations. I wanted to do fun fonts for the title chapters. And unfortunately, I've learned as I've become older and hopefully a little bit wiser that no, you need to go through these 5 stages of the writing process, and including the 4 before this one, in order to have a published piece of work. You need to have pre-written where you get the ideas. You need to have made a draft. You need to revise it. You need to edit it to make sure that there's no mistakes before you can get to all of this fun stuff, or at least fun for most people. The big question here is, how do you want your story to be accessible to someone else? So whether it's a physical copy, whether it's digital, doesn't matter. Are there going to be illustrations? What do they look like? What does the cover or the thumbnail, if it's digital, look like? What kind of font is it written in? How many lines per page? How many words per page? How big is the font? What's the style of the font? Page numbers. Are there page numbers? And if so, what do they look like? Because even some books, the way they number pages just really complements the story. Chapter titles, you've probably already thought of those. The blurb on the back, that's stuff that you write beforehand, but it's stuff you got to think, what's it actually going to look like on the actual text? Chapter titles, their placement on the page, table of contents, basically all of the little details that make your story into a book. These are the things that you need to think about and have happen during the publishing. What do you want it to look like when a reader finds it? When someone hands your book to a friend and says, you need to read this. Or when someone finds your book on the shelf at a bookstore. Or when you're handing out free copies just because you want to share this. What do you want it to look like when someone else accesses it? And here, my only guiding principle, my only suggestion for you is think about what details complement your story. What page numbers, what illustrations, what cover, all of those little details. How do they complement your story? Now, how do you go about doing this? Hey, I'm not the expert here, and there are millions of other options for you to check out, other YouTubers, other podcasts, other experts who can tell you all the ins and outs and pros and cons. But basically, you're looking at 3 things. Software, you can do this digitally, all online, and there are many great programs that can help you create a published piece and even help you to print them. There are services, there are companies out there who you can contact. They can help you do this. And as well, just some printing presses out there to reach out to. Say, hey, I've got this thing, and they can help you with the more artistic side of this. This part is up to you. How do you want to do it? There are services galore out there, but you've gone through the first 4 steps of the writing process. You've got a finished piece of work. This 5th and final step, the publishing, is where you create a physical or digital copy that goes out into the world that will be shared and experienced by others. Next, we're going to take some time to look at your process. So we've looked at the steps in the writing process, but we're going to look at more your habits, your process of actually doing those 5 steps of the writing process. We're going to be looking at how you schedule. We're going to look at the places that you write, the community that you have, and even like your state, your experience getting into flow, these sorts of things to help make sure that now that you know these 5 steps to the writing process, that you actually go do them.